Hey guys, it's Hazel here, and welcome back to another episode of Crazy Restaurant Stories. And you know what? Last time we started off with two really annoying customers, so how about we start with a wholesome story? Now, I am going to put a trigger warning right here, is that there's going to be a story, it's the second story I'm going to tell right after this wholesome story about actually something really serious. I had a weapon flashed on me, like a knife flashed at me while I was working, but we will get into that later. I'm just telling you in advance that if you are sensitive to weapons and like scary stories, this is probably not the video for you. But let's start small and start with what just happened last week on last Wednesday. So I was pulling a double and I was the only hostess working that day. And at around 1:30, I'd say, maybe 2 o'clock, I sat 3 guys. One looked to be like the father in his 40s, the other 2 were like brothers, one being in his 20s, and the other looked like he was about 18 or 19, and when I sat them, the youngest one asked for crayons. And naturally, since he was like 19 and obviously they're all joking around with each other, we're having a good time, I thought it was a joke, and we joked around for a minute, and then I went on my merry way. Now, we have a tendency to get a big lunch rush, which is exactly what happened, and our waitress had about 10, 11 tables at once, and this is COVID, so she needs a little bit of help getting drink orders out. And those same 3 guys wanted Cokes, so I grabbed 3 of them and brought them over. Once again, they asked for crayons, and normally if you're joking, you don't ask for a second time, so I decided to just comply. I grabbed a couple crayons and gave them to him. And he looked up at me and immediately said, "You know, I needed the crayons to write down your number." I was extremely stunned because at that point I've worked here for a while and I was never asked for my number while at work. It was both really exciting and slightly annoying, and you know what? I applaud him for having the balls to even ask, but I also got a little uncomfortable. So I awkwardly chuckled and looked at the register and got a perfect escape. There were 2 people actually waiting for takeout, so I looked at him and said, "I'd be right back." Now, of course, I didn't go back. I just figured I told them that I wasn't interested when he came back to cash out, but I ended up being in the bathroom while they cashed out and a waitress cashed them out for me. It was kind of cute, but I also think asking workers for numbers while they're on the job is a little uncomfy. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. I was just a little stressed since I had to work a double that day, like just all of a sudden, like I didn't know about it, like my coworker canceled on me, so I was a little upset, but either way, I applaud him for having the courage to do it, especially in a respectful way. Like, he wasn't like forcing me to do anything. He was just kind of being cute. And, you know, I can always respect that when you are just being nice about it. And I just hope he understands that. Obviously, I wasn't interested, you know? But, you know, that's the gist of the story. Okay, now this is where the trigger warning comes in, because we're getting into the really serious story now. This is by far the closest I've come to having a fight with a customer, and also the scariest moment of not only my career, but probably my life. Now, this happened earlier this year, before COVID hit, like, fully. It was like January, and I was working the night shift on a Wednesday at about 6:27 p.m. And if you're wondering why I remember all these details, one of the company's owners happens to be my father, and he asked me to write down everything I remember so he could check the cameras into place to find this guy, okay? So this middle-aged guy came in and he had a hat on, a vest jacket, and he was wearing jeans. He had a takeout, and though I don't remember exactly what he had, I know it was a small one, like, you know, not much things. Like, probably like only pizza and wings or something like that. There was someone in front of him picking up a takeout order, and while I was cashing him out, I look over at the other guy to give him a smile that just says, you know, "Give me 1 minute, please. Like, you know, just be patient with me. I'll be right with you." I do it to all the customers if I'm waiting, and this one is a little different though, because to my surprise, I saw him holding a switchblade in front of his leg, and I'm not gonna lie when I say my entire body froze and my heart stopped. Now, I've seen like weapons before, I've seen guns, I've seen knives in real life, not just movies. Like, I've seen them before, and it's never really scary, but when you see someone you don't know holding a knife and like kind of flashing it at you, that's when it gets scary. My smile, was forced at that point, and the person in front of me I know was, talking, but I couldn't hear him, if that makes sense. My entire body was, just frozen from the point, because I was just staring at the switchblade, and it was by far the scariest moment of my life. Again, he just kept switching the blade in and out, back and forth. It was a full blade. It wasn't just, some pocket knife. It was an actual, it was an actual blade, And if you're going to defend him by saying that maybe he just wanted to play with it, then why was he playing with it out of his pocket, let alone in front of his leg? It was at his hip level. It was at perfectly visible to me. It wasn't like he was trying to hide it under the counter. He was standing behind this guy, and the counter, he was standing, the counter, it's a lower counter, so you can see more, up to the hip level. So why was he playing with it at his hip, let alone, at all, And even better, why is he playing with it in public? When there's a younger girl working the front counter, alone. He's a middle-aged man. This isn't, just some teenager. He should know how to act in public by now, you know what I'm saying? He's alone. He's clearly competent. He has money. He has a job. He looks decently well-dressed. He didn't seem to have any physical problems or anything like that. So, I didn't understand what he was doing. It's a restaurant. You don't take blades into a restaurant, let alone take them out of your pocket. And keep in mind, this is a kid-friendly establishment. We're proud sponsors of Little League teams for baseball, and there's kids in the building. We are a family restaurant. Okay, I got really scared, and I backed up from the register, and this is my first time dealing with something like that. It's the first time I've ever seen someone holding a knife, only a few feet in front of me, and I didn't know what to do or say, and I was told that if I was ever in a dangerous situation like that, I should run away and worry about my own safety, get a manager immediately. But in the moment, all I did was hand the other guy his pizza and watch the dangerous man closely, and he got up to the register and smiled, and it seemed kind of forced, and he decided to just play nice, I guess. He said his name, and I stayed on the far side of the register, so that if he decided he wanted to attack me, he would be extremely hard to reach me. And I don't know where the rest of the staff was at this point. I don't know if they were close by, if they even saw this, but at this point, while he's up to the register, he's still was playing with it, He didn't put it away. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If he was just messing with it before, he definitely wasn't now. I mean, when you step up to the register to talk, you figure you'd put it away, because now you don't need a distraction while you're waiting, you know what I'm saying? And obviously, I'm still alive, so he did not attack me, thank God. But it was, without a doubt, I know I said this twice already, but the scariest moment of my life. And I made him pay quickly and did not engage in conversation with him. I simply grabbed his food and slid it across the counter. I didn't hand it to him like I normally would. I slid it across the counter, and I stayed as far away as possible and protected the register. You know what I'm saying? I was guarding it. I didn't know if he wanted to rob the place, or if now robbing with a knife sounds a little pathetic, but I am also a younger girl. I mean, that's visible. Seriously, I'm not exactly on the older side. I'm not in my mid-20s yet, so I mean, there's that. Yeah, he just gave me this tight smile. I remember to this day, he kind of just had this, he said thank you, and it sounded extremely forced. And by the time he finally put the blade back in his pocket, it was when he reached to grab the door. He was still holding his food and still looking back at me while holding it. But he didn't put it away until he had to get the door. Believe me now when I say he wasn't just messing with it. Guys, please take this as a lesson. If you're a person who needs to fiddle with something, that's fine. I don't care. I have a tendency to really tap whatever surface I'm touching. It's just because I get anxious really quickly, and I just have a tendency to do stuff like that. I think everyone has small tendencies and stuff, but just don't ever flash your weapon in public. It terrifies even the people who are prepared for it, because I thought I was prepared for it. Okay, I've had so many protective people around me who would never let anything bad happen to me. But to be honest, at that moment, I didn't see any waitresses or managers around, any other staff, and I was alone, and that is what terrified me the most about that story. And I know it sounds oh, you got flashed a weapon, it's not that big a deal, but you want to go in my shoes? and stare down this guy who you don't know wearing decently nice clothes. Like, he's a middle-aged guy. Like I said, he should know how to act in public. This wasn't just a fluke. He wasn't just playing with it. He was staring at me and switching it on and off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just... I'm sorry, I can't describe this anymore. I can't stress it enough how scary this was. Like, it was, on the right side, it was the first and last time I ever saw a weapon in a restaurant. And I'm really grateful for that, and that I'm still here and that he didn't attack me, but for a few seconds there, I really thought he had bad intentions. He probably had bad intentions the entire time. It's just, he didn't act on them, and I guess, I don't know what to say to that. It was just horrible, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot right now. I've been talking for 7.5 minutes about just this one story, but it really is a terrifying story, and it's probably one of the most terrifying stories I have in my life. There are really only 2 stories I have that are genuinely terrifying, and this is one of them. I'm sure one day I'll tell the other one, but I don't want to get into it right now. I don't have the strength to get into it right now. Wow, I sound probably a little pathetic, but I mean, just please, just don't make my mistake. Just, if you see a weapon in public, just go in the opposite direction. Get some help, especially if you're working. You shouldn't have to deal with it. Like, seriously, get a superior, okay? Just do that. Don't risk getting hurt. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Your safety. Put your safety above all else, okay? You know what? After that story, we're already in the dark zone, so we might as well just keep going. I'll tell you 3 separate stories. Yeah, we'll do 3 of guys who had issues or were just high. Just this past Friday, which at the time of recording was 4 days ago, this group of 3 people came in. There was a woman and 2 men. And they walked up to the register, and they seemed kind of dazed. They were looking at the menu I gave them and talking to each other in kind of like a weird manner. I mean, they were cursing and kind of like swing around, like not too much. Like, I didn't think they were like drunk or something, but you know what? I don't know. At this point, it was 3:50, which meant that I only had 10 minutes until my shift was over, okay? 10 minutes, and I wanted to leave as fast as possible so I didn't have to deal with them. Instead, I looked around and saw my manager, who was like second mother to me. She was right behind me. I gave her a smile and kind of walked away, and she immediately understood what I was saying. Like, her and I have been around each other for a while. She understood, and since it was a Friday, it was busy anyway, so I just ran right back to the kitchen and grabbed a lot of food since takeout was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I had like 15 orders. And you know what? After 3 minutes, like, I was looking at the clock constantly. It was like 3:54 at that point. Yeah, I was going back and forth, putting food on the heat lamps and running back and going back and forth, back and forth. You get what I'm saying. And I realized that the group was still not done with their order. Like, the manager was still in the register tapping away, and they were so curious about the takeout deals we had, and she was explaining every single one. She had to explain it in depth more than once. I was listening the entire time, and once she was finally done, and it took a full minute after I realized like how long it was taking, and she asked me to make boxes for their pizzas, and while I was walking back to the kitchen with the boxes, she was walking next to me and told me how she could tell that they were kind of like, not in their right mind. She said she could smell the pot in their breath, and I mean, it kind of made sense. They were pretty dazed, and you know what? Personally, I do not do any drugs. Never tried them, and never plan to, never will, and I don't know how I view them. On one hand, one high, you have distorted views, so you can't really control your actions, but on the other, you should try to have one friend sober to help you control your actions. Like, seriously, is going to a restaurant and having the high friend order a good idea? Like, seriously. There was a high person I had to deal with personally. A man and a woman came in and looked at the menu. Innocent enough, sure, but he wanted a pizza and some bonus bites, so I told him about how for takeout, there's a special deal where you get a regular sized pizza, which is 6 cuts, and a pound of bonus bites with a sauce of your choice. He would, kind of look at me, and then he said he would do it, and I could tell he seemed a little dazed, and double-checked. I asked him, just to make sure, you want the 6-cut pizza and bites combo that I told you about, right? And he said yes. He nodded rapidly. When his food was actually ready, he walked out with the woman and came back like 2 minutes later with just the pizza and told me he wanted a large. He thought he was getting a large. He told me that he thought he was getting a large. Now, normally this wouldn't be a big deal, but I told him not once, but twice that the combo was a regular pizza and a pound of bites. I didn't want to deal with it at that point, So I just grabbed a manager, and she came up front and dealt with it smoothly. She was nice, saying that she wanted to save him money by offering him the pizza and bites combo since it saved him quite a few bucks. It gave him like, what, $6-7, I think? And she offered to get him a large, but he seemed to forget about why he was even there and said no. And she said, "Are you sure? I don't want you to go home hungry." To which he just kind of walked out like he didn't even hear her. She turned to me and I told her about what I said, which she understood, and she kind of just gave me this concerned look and said, "Yeah, I don't think he was in his right state of mind," implying that he was on something. The first time I dealt with someone who was not in their best state of mind was last year. I believe it was in November, and some guy walked in alone. He seemed like he was in his 30s, so he was a bit younger, but I don't think he was on anything. I think he was just either naturally that way or like trying to get a reaction out of me, I guess. And alright, just prepare yourself to hear this, okay? He came in to a restaurant in a very small town, like a very not known town, to get directions to Las Vegas. I asked him, like, Las Vegas, like in Nevada? Now, keep in mind, I'm in Pennsylvania. Las Vegas in Nevada is 2,423 miles away from me, or 35 hours by car. And I kind of just blinked at him and said, I have no idea that he should use a map or GPS. From there, he just started rambling, like, about the most random things about women. Like, he said he was trying to find some babes in Las Vegas, and I respect that, but I kind of just laughed and nodded at him. He then proceeded to ask for my name and age, and I replied by telling him I was 14, and I know I kind of sound it, but I'm not. It's quite a few years off. I just said that so he would think I'm underage and hopefully, like, back off. Like, it kind of seemed a little like he was leaning on the counter, you know, and I just told him my first name. I didn't tell him my last name. He called me pretty and talked about women and how beautiful they are for another minute before just leaving. After that, the waitress that was working that night, she approached me and asked me if I was okay, and I said yes. He was just a little creepy, and I'm glad that I never saw him again. I told quite a few stories today, didn't I? Let's end with something positive, shall we? Let's see. What's a positive story? Okay, how about one time this couple came in. Now, this was recent, about a week or two ago, and they wanted to order takeout. Naturally, I gave them a menu, and since it was their first time with us, I answered all of their questions. They were just so cute, and the girl was just a bit sassy, but like in a cute way, not like an annoying way that's like, you know, mean or something. And I could tell she's the kind of person that like to call you on your mistakes or if you're lying, and I love that. And the guy was like the cutest one in the world. He was just taking care of her and ordering for her. It was so cute. And you want to know the best part of that story? The very next day, they came back and got more food, and that is adorable. Couple goals right there. Anyway, I thought I would end this with a cute story just to make things more lighthearted because, you know, I told a story about a guy with a knife earlier, so I figured we might as well end on a good note. This video is getting pretty long, so I will end it here, but thank you for watching if you got this far somehow, and don't forget, I love you, and thank you for the support, and check the description for all of my socials and everything like that, and also remember, I always post a charity in my descriptions, okay? Please, if you can't even donate, just check it out. The one I'm posting today benefits the environment, and we need to protect our environment. I don't want to preach about that on YouTube yet. We'll talk about that another day. That's a whole different video. But anyway, please just at least check out the website so you know how you can help the environment naturally. But you know what? That's for another day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!